journalist from KRAZ-TV. Well, for the Zero Channel today, we have a book review called More from Less by Andrew McAfee. The surprising story of how we learn to prosper using fewer resources and what happens next. I really like this book. I mean, I read every word of it and every graph. There's a lot of graphs in here, and it's because Andrew McAfee is a principal research scientist at the MIT Sloan School of Management and the co-founder and co-director of the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy, where he studies how digital technologies are changing businesses, the economy, and society. He has discussed his work at such venues as TED, TED, the Aspen Ideas Festival, and the World Economic Forums. His prior books include the New York Times bestseller, The Second Machine Age, which he mentions a lot in this book, and Machine Platform Cloud. He lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. This book comes from, or is published by Scribner, New York, London, Toronto, Sydney, and New Delhi. Throughout history, the only way for humanity to grow was by downgrading the earth, chopping down forests, fouling the air and water, and endlessly digging out resources. Since the first Earth Day in 1970, on April 22nd, of course, the reigning argument has been that taking better care of the planet means radically changing course, reducing our consumption, tightening our belts, learning to share and reuse, restraining growth. Is that argument correct? Absolutely not. In More from Less, McAfee argues that to solve our ecological problems, we don't need to make radical changes. Instead, we need to do more of what we're already doing, growing technologically sophisticated, market-based economies around the world. How can he possibly make this claim? Because of the evidence, America, a large, high-tech country that accounts for about 25% of the global economy, is now generally using less of most resources year after year, even as its economy and population continue to grow. What's more, the United States is polluting the air and water less, emitting fewer greenhouse gases, and replenishing endangered animal populations. And as McAfee shows, America is not alone. Other countries are also transforming themselves in fundamental ways. What has made this turnabout possible? One thing primarily, the collaboration between technology and capitalism, although good governance and public awareness are also critical. McAfee does warn of issues that haven't been resolved, like global warming, overfishing, and communities left behind as capitalism and tech progress race forwards. But overall, More from Less is a revelatory, paradigm-shifting account of how we've stumbled into an unexpectedly better balance with nature, and one that holds out the promise of more abundant and greener centuries ahead. Well, I sure hope so. He makes an argument convincingly through a lot of the graphs. In the very first, in the early years, let's see, it was in 1776 or 70, Reverend Thomas Robert Malthus and another guy, Hoban, a writer, but Malthus is best known for an essay on principles of population published in 1798. So it's tough going for a modern reader. But it talks about go up and down, limits to growth, and all of that. And then, of course, as food went down, populations went down, there was constant wars, all of that thing. So the graph went up, down, up, down, up, down. It would oscillate back and forward. Until lately, Industrial Revolution started to take off. The graphs went way up. But there's been new shifts, and so the Malthus graphs don't work anymore, according to him. So, like here's a little graph. The GDP, the gross domestic product, goes way up, and yet down here, in this part, we're using less energy consumption, and the CO2 is finally going down a little bit. We talk about CFCs in here, how changing that really made the ozone. So there are positive endeavors that really do take a turn. Now some of this stuff is on a lag time, because once you stop using certain things, it takes 10 years. Some things take a century to show that yes, it did have a positive effect. Biggest thing that my takeaway on this is that a new form of capitalism with responsive government and the will of the people, public awareness, is really what's driving this. Of course, the smartphone and computers and learning how to work with less and get more is really what's happening. And by that I mean, well, recycling, reusing, consuming less. He's an advocate of GMO foods. I'm not going to say where I'm going. He also thinks that glyphosates are not as bad as they seem to be. But he also says that if people don't want it, they shouldn't have to have it. And we'll have workarounds to figure out how to deal with that. But, well, he cites the car industry in there about how the manufacturers just didn't care whether we used gas or not, but government has forced them to make mileage things, and that's really helping. We need to get more into renewables, and that's seemingly to help a lot too. Also, just changing from coal to natural gas seemed to help a lot. So, all in all, populations, because here they talked about it only a few billion, but we're making a billion every, less than 10 years now. But it took many years and hundreds of years to make the first billion and then jump to second. But I don't know, what are we up to? Almost 7 to 9 billion now. So there's got to be a change somewhere. So it isn't suffering for tightening your belt, but tighten your belt because you ate less and you're a trimmer figure, because, well, the trimmer figure comes from lower caloric and you will live longer. So I'm a testimony to that. So some personal habits really help. He goes into authoritarian governments. Even China has made big leaps. And if they just switch just a little bit away from the authoritarian, they're probably going to work out better than they ever have before. But they've got their own form of capitalism, but they're too authoritarian. So get the book like we did. We got this book at the Tucson-Pima County Public Library. It's a great read. It has a lot of graphs in it. And it shows that we're using less aluminum and other products. And I guess smartphones are okay. I just don't like them tracking you everywhere. But like he said, in the smartphones, you don't just get a telephone, you get a computer, well, a flashlight, and any other great devices that you can hook into it. So, diversify by making more uses out of a single object. Yes, that's part of it. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, and keep watching at KRAZ TV, and come back and watch all of our other views at KRAZ TV. More from less.